City of Lowell Zoning Board of Appeals. This is a public hearing. Tonight is March 23rd, 2009. On tonight's agenda, we have 2 continuances and 3 new petitions. Anybody wishing to address the board, please step up to the podium at the time of the petition you'd wish to address the board on, and sign your name, and please state your name and your address clearly for the record so I don't have to interrupt you. We are going to take something a little bit out of order. We're going to take the second continuance before the first one because it's going to be very brief. We have a letter from the attorney, Georgia Leites, from Splash Media Group, Boston, LLC, and tonight they were on for a 6-month review. This is that issue with the billboard over in the Highlands, and Attorney Leites has indicated through his letter that no work has been done yet, so there's nothing really to review. So with the wish of the board, we will continue this for another 6 months from today, or to the nearest meeting within 6 months. Any discussion on this?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I'd just like to make a small point that I don't think anything, the board did approve this back in September, but there's been no insulation, nothing even close to this point, so there's really no need to do any action on it tonight. So let's continue this until I believe it takes us into September. So, Madam Secretary, what dates do we have meetings in September?
September 14th and September what, Stephanie?
28th.
28th. Okay, my suggestion would be September 28th because it's short of the 6 months prior to that. So,
as you wish, Mr. Chairman. With that being said, I'd like to make a motion to continue to September the 28th, 2009.
Second.
Roll call, please, Stephanie.
Present.
Continue.
Continue.
Continue. Continue.
Okay, the matter received the 4 necessary votes to continue it until the September 28th meeting. There'll be no further public notice. Anybody wishing to address the board on that petition has a right to show up that night and voice their concerns or support. Okay, moving on, we have the next continuance, which is ZB 2009, number 2. This is a special permit, telecommunications. The applicant is Bell Atlantic Mobile. The address is 141 Marginal Street, also known as 106 Marginal Street, and this is in an institutional mixed-use zone. And the petition is for the installation of a telecommunication antennas on an existing smokestack in an adjacent equipment shelter, according to Section 7.6 of the zoning ordinance. Now, my recollection, good evening, Council.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. My name is Earl Duvall, and I represent the applicant.
Okay, and my memory is from last time, we agreed to continue it because there was something pending before the planning board.
That's correct.
And you went to the planning board, and that's all set, or whatever issue was before the planning board is all set.
I believe it is.
I know it had nothing to do with your antenna.
Okay.
But we wanted to have that straightened out before you came here. And my understanding is that there's no longer an issue with your petition on
Correct.
Marginal Street. We remember, I believe everybody recalls your presentation last time, and you're just moving the antenna, correct?
Right. The issue was that the proposed equipment shelter was located in the fire lane that this board was so kindly to let me and my client know, because we didn't know that we were located in the fire
Okay.
lane. So we did submit new plans on Friday. I'm not sure if you have a copy of those. If not, I brought additional copies with me.
I believe we have a copy up here, at least I do. Does everybody have a copy? Yep, everybody does. I'll just look on with yours. So what has changed, sir, from...
Okay, I think it's easiest if we first flip to sheet Z2, and then I can show you, what's changed. The equipment shelter is now located on the northwest side of the smokestack, whereas the prior drawings had it to the north or southeast section of the smokestack. And if you flip back to Z1, you can see, if you look to the left side of the drawing, you can see the reference to existing fire lane approximate. That fire lane goes up and curves to the east and goes along the parking area to the rear of the facility and then back down to Marginal Street. Again, on the first set of plans that we had submitted, our proposed equipment shelter was within that fire lane, but we've now worked it out with the developer and with Unison, who's the easement owner of the site, to locate it in an area that works for everybody.
Okay. All right, is there anything else, sir?
Unless there's some questions from the board?
Okay. No, I think it's clear what, I mean, your presentation last time, and there was that issue that looks like it has been resolved favorably, so it's a petition that was approved before, you're just relocating it from what I understand? Pretty much just relocating what was there?
Yes, well, I guess we weren't approved. I mean, we were coming in last time for the, special permit, and then again, the board was kind enough to let me know that we were in the middle of the fire lane. So what we've done, what we did is continued, relocated the, the equipment to the other side.
Okay.
I mean, it's a new installation on the smokestack, would be the third.
That's what I was referring to.
Right.
There was already an installation on the smokestack.
Correct, yeah,
Right.
there are two other installations.
So they had to get prior approvals.
Correct,
Right. So this is basically the same thing.
correct.
Okay. All right.
Thank you.
Anything, Bill? Corey?
Yes, through you, Mr. Chairman. I do recall the presentation during the last time you were in front of us, and it was a good presentation at that. And this was the only hurdle they had regarding the public safety issue. We have the fire lane, which is now resolved, so I don't have a problem with it. Thank you very much.
Kevin?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Through you, some questions for the applicant. Just for point of clarification, having reviewed your very comprehensive submission, which we appreciate, appears first of all, this is adding antennas to an existing cell site, right? So we're just
Correct.
adding new antennas. It looks like you're adding capacity or coverage for both PCS and
And cellular,
and
yes.
cellular. Okay. Are you adding data to that as well, or is that, are you adding separate data coverage, or is that covered? under
No,
the
that would be
PCS?
underneath the PCS.
Okay, so
The
that would be
PCS
covered.
coverage is, the 1.9 gigahertz or the 1900 megahertz, and that's mostly for transmission of data or video, streaming full motion
Right.
video.
Right, so you don't need separate antennas to support
No.
data network?
Nope, it'll be the 12 antennas that proposed.
Right. And the other concern that was raised at one of the previous hearings was the actual condition of the chimney itself, but your plan calls for an engineer to come in and do some remediation as necessary. for
Correct.
structural
I think
integrity.
Exhibit 13 to our submission is the full structural analysis from the engineers, and Verizon Wireless will certainly follow those recommendations and make all those repairs prior to any installation.
Good. Thank you. No
Thank
further
you.
questions.
No further questions.
Okay. Kevin, do you think it's necessary to make that a condition that the repairs be done to the chimney stack? Or is that something that's already part of something you've agreed to?
I think it would be worth noting as a condition if the applicant is amenable. I mean,
Condition acceptable to you, sir?
Yes, it is.
Okay. So I think probably the only condition we're considering is a condition that the smokestack be brought, I guess, be redone or repointed according to the recommendations of the structural engineer?
Yeah, I think that would be great.
So I would like to word that, Mr. Chairman, structural analysis be performed and go through the building department? Should we involve the building department too?
Well, is your oversight on that, sir, the city engineer? Or do you have, I assume you have your own structural engineer?
We did. It's actually a company, it's called International Chimney Corporation, that anytime we would locate on a chimney or a smokestack, they will go out and they specialize in this type of work, and they had put together, as you can see, a very comprehensive report. And what I can represent is that Verizon Wireless has reviewed this report, with them and with me, and that any and all recommendations that have been made in here will absolutely be made by Verizon Wireless.
Okay, so we could put as a condition that the applicant agrees to comply with the recommendations of the structural engineer as it relates to the condition of the smokestack. Okay.
Thank you.
So we need a motion.
Chairman, I'll make a motion to approve with the following condition, that the petitioner agrees to comply with an engineer's report and repair and replace as necessary.
Yep, that the applicant comply with the recommendations of the structural engineer as it relates to the condition of the smokestack. I think that's what we discussed.
Yep.
Second the motion.
Steffi, roll call, please.
Approved with conditions?
Approve with conditions?
Approve with conditions.
Approve with conditions.
Approved with conditions.
Okay, so you've been unanimously approved. We just need you to sign this plan right here and date it, and please hand it to Stephanie, but I'd go around the back because you might trip over some wires there. Thank you, sir. Go ahead.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Good luck. Okay, the first order of new business is ZB 2009, number 10. Petition is for a variance. The applicant is Draper, Edward and Alice Draper of 208 Trotting Park Road in Lowell. This is a suburban single-family district, and the petitioner would like to subdivide the existing lot and construct a single-family home without the required frontage, according to Article 5, Section 5.1 of the Table of Dimensional Requirements. Would somebody representing 208 Trotting Park please address the board?
Hi, my name is Alice Draper, and Ed Draper, my husband.
And your address, ma'am?
We're at 208 Trotting Park Road. We're the owners of 208 Trotting Park Road, and looking to subdivide our property and get an additional house lot to build ourselves another smaller house, looking to downsize.
Okay, so you live in 208 right now, and you have, as part of your parcel, you have a parcel you'd like to...
We're looking to cut out a piece of our land. My daughter lives at 206, so between the two of us, we've got quite a bit of land, so we're just looking to take a little piece of land from both parcels and make a new parcel.
Okay. And I know you probably didn't see it before this, but did you get a chance to look at the memorandum from the city engineer's office?
I did, yeah, I just did that. I got that tonight. It's the first time I've seen it. The only thing I'm looking at, I see it says the denial given only 25 feet of frontage is provided for all three parcels. I mean, there's a total of 66 feet frontage right now. So each parcel with the proposed development, would each parcel would have 22 feet of frontage. I don't know if I'm just misinterpreting their notes saying 25 feet of frontage for all three. It's actually...
Yeah, I'm not sure what they exactly mean by that. What I'm more concerned with, and what I think you're probably going to be more concerned with, are the issues relating to the sewer issues.
We've run a sewer line up. There is a sewer line run up there. Actually, there were two lines run because my daughter tied her house into the sewerage, and we ran our line up, where there are two lines currently run up there already.
So you've already done the infrastructure?
The sewerage for two parcels is there.
Okay.
Yeah, and there were gas lines. There's no water up there. We're on wells still, but... So, I mean, water could be, we could always run water up there if we had to, because there is water on the street, so.
What the engineer's saying, and again, I'm not sure, I'm just trying to read between the lines, but it says sewer and water services must be separate from the other properties. If all property owners are in agreement, a sewer main could be installed ending in a manhole near the three homes. This would be all the property owner's expense. Most importantly, all three properties must have a signed agreement filed with the Registry of Deeds stating they are responsible for the care and maintenance of the line. And I know that that issue does come up in situations like this.
Well, even when my daughter did tie into the sewage last year, we asked if we could run one big line and then just tee off for the different parcels, and, at that time, they said they wanted separate lines. So there are two separate pipes run up there now. There are separate lines run for each house.
Right, so your house has a separate line.
Yes.
And your daughter's house has a separate line.
Yes.
I guess what the engineer, and I'm just reading what they're saying, I haven't spoken to them, but it says that if you just, assuming you both have sewer lines and tie-ins, then if this were approved tonight, what they're saying is that you have to understand that you're gonna have to have your own sewer and water services on your property, if I'm reading it right, and they're suggesting a sewer main could be installed ending in a manhole near the three homes. So they must have on their records whether or not there is a manhole on there already.
There isn't
So-
one yet. There's no manhole there now running up there. There is a clean-out part way up the driveway. There is a clean-out.
A catch basin?
No, there's no catch basin. There's just I think just a spot in the pipe. If there is a problem, they could get in there to do a clean-out rather than, down at the bottom at the street or up from the house. It's sort of a halfway point.
Who maintains the sewer and water, I guess you don't have a water line, but who maintains the sewer line now?
It's only a year old. They just put it in. They just put it in last year, so it's new. It's a new
So it
sewer
hasn't
line.
needed any maintenance?
No, no.
So hypothetically, if that were to burst,
Well, like I said, actually, there are two lines anyhow, so right now, the way it is, we each have our own line. So I guess it's, whoever line, I guess, I suppose it'd be,
Line up, it's not connected, it's just brought up
Yeah.
to the driveway up to where the land stops.
just a stem kind of?
ours is capped, yeah, we didn't tie in
Yeah,
yet,
they
but,
told us to just bring it up there while they were there. It's probably a good time to.
I mean, there are two lines there already, so.
Okay. Bob, are you familiar with anything with the engineer's office with this? Okay. Well, I guess the first issue, if we can take them one at a time, it says the plot plan shows that the driveway is a common right-of-way, and they're suggesting it's not a right-of-way, it's a common access area. Or the common access area is a driveway and is privately owned.
It is, I mean, we've always maintained it ourselves, that's how it has been,
Then
for
you would
30
need to-
years, it's been there 30 years, so.
Then you would need to change the addresses, I guess, because you couldn't,
I suppose just for numbering, yeah, well. I would certainly be willing to do that,
the grading issues, that's, obviously, all grades must be created as not to direct any runoff to the abutting property.
That's
I guess
understandable.
the concern I have, before we go any further, is the sewer and water issue. I almost, and where they're saying it must, and if you read it, must is all in capital letters, so they must mean something about it, but it's, they're saying have a signed agreement with the Registry of Deeds. I just don't want you to get into something that you're not sure of what your responsibilities are here. I don't know if you talked to a developer or a builder, or...
I mean, I had spoken with one contractor, just, at the thought of maybe if we could have, thought of maybe having that whole thing proposed as a road, having it made into a city road, but it would just really just cost prohibitive to even do that. It would just cost way too much money.
Right,
So-
and that's why I'm just bringing this up with the sewer and water, because I don't know that, and to have all three parties sign an agreement, I think this board would probably require that, if we knew what it was about, but to be honest with you, I don't know what, I
Because like I
mean,
said, we have separate pipes anyhow. I think that was an issue when we initially put the sewerage up there was, like I said, I questioned about just doing one big pipe, but then that was the sewer department's issue. They said if there was a problem, then the two parties would be, fighting over who's going to take care of it. So that was their reasoning at the time to put in two pipes. So we each have our own line, so if there is a problem, we just take care of our own line. So I don't know if putting another property, whether they're talking about running one big main line and then teeing off that, and maybe that's what their issue is. I don't know.
Well, I think they are, because it says if all property owners are in agreement, a sewer main could be installed ending in a manhole near the 3 homes. It doesn't say who's going to install it, but it says that the expense would be yours. Maybe this, I don't know if the city routinely installs those at your expense, or that you're required to have somebody bond it and install it themselves, and in any event, they're looking for,
I mean, we had to pay to run the sewer lines up there anyhow last year, we paid for that, so.
what did you do before then?
We were on septic systems.
You on septic still
Yeah.
back there?
Now, Mr. Chairman, is it possible the interpretation is that the engineer's office is requiring them to install a third sewer line for the proposed new home? And then
No,
they'd
I
be
think
res-
that's clear, yeah. I just think that, I just don't know what that involves, and I don't know if you do.
To run a third line?
Well, it's,
I mean, I would think it's just opening up the trench that's there and just running on the line up, I'm assuming, because the two sewer lines currently now are both in the same trench.
right, so if
two
it's
pipes,
just a
so-
line going to your house, it doesn't seem like it would be that big of a deal, any different than any new construction, if you have the stem already at the street. But, where they say a sewer main could be installed ending in a manhole near the 3 homes, leads me to believe that there's more infrastructure there than you may think.
Yeah, I mean, to me, that's sounding like they want to have one big line, one main line running up the driveway and then
Right.
teeing off to each property from
That's
there.
what that's how I'm reading it.
Yeah.
And then that all properties must have a signed agreement with the registry of deeds. You know anything about that?
No, I haven't, yeah, I don't know anything about
Did you
that.
did you consult an attorney at all when you were figuring out how to do this?
No,
That's the only,
because like I said, right now, we have our own individual lines anyhow, so this, they're looking at, to me, sounds like they're looking to change it to one line, so then then you would have, suppose, have to have some kind of an agreement as to who's responsible for that one line if we're all sharing it, so.
okay. Well, let's see what the other members have to say. Maybe we can, maybe somebody will have some other idea what this is all about. Anything, Bill?
Yes. First question I have is, you stated that you're going to be taking area from both 208 and 206?
That's right.
That is the proposal says that 208. Does it say again there where they're taking from the two properties?
Well, I think if you look at the plot plan,
Yep.
you see the proposed, you can see where the proposed area would be as opposed to what's existing.
No, but the application says 208. I was just, I guess, asking. It doesn't say 208 and 206.
Oh, you're referring to the application? Yeah, no, it doesn't.
Okay.
It does say just,
Yeah, no, yeah, because, we're the ones who are applying to do it, And, and if it is granted, of course, then,
Okay.
we're taking some of the land, like I said, it's for my daughter, so it's my daughter's property, so.
Right. So you're taking so much from each lot is what you're
Yes.
doing and subdividing it up?
Exactly, yeah.
Okay. How long have you lived in the home?
30 years.
30 years? Mm-hmm. Yep. And your daughter next door has been there how long?
3 years? How long have you
Three.
been there? 4 years?
4 years? Okay. And the plan is to have another family member?
Yeah, that's what I'd love to do, is build ourselves a smaller house and have my other daughter buy our house.
That's the plan?
Yeah, which I'd love. I don't want my kids to go too far.
The existing driveway, what they're calling as a right-of-way, is that correct?
Yeah.
Now, do you have any plans to do anything with that driveway?
Repave it,
Is that your plan, is to
Yeah,
pull up what's there and
yeah,
repave?
yes.
Okay.
We
We'd have to dig anyway, so, and it's.
What's
put
that?
that driveway
we'd
in
have to
20
dig
years ago,
anyway,
so.
and it's in
yeah.
bad shape, so we're trying to.
Okay, all right. I think that's all I have, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
okay. Corey?
Yes, through you, Mr. Chairman. I did visit the property today, and how the fact why I do support the project, that it does sit far back off the street, and your variance doesn't really affect anybody. It's your daughter who owns the house next door. It won't adversely affect any others of your neighbors. But we do have the neighbor, I'm sure the people that might like to speak on this too, we haven't heard from the neighbors, residents at this point yet. But I do lean towards supporting it at this point, but as the chairman stated, this, the sewer issue here, whether it be the engineer's office wants you to install one line that would tee in off the 3 homes, or adding a third, it's a little unclear at this point, but it looks like it's going to be at your expense, and as well as maintenance too over the years. So I think the chairman wanted to reiterate that to you. That's going to be incurred, that's your cost throughout. And but I would like to see, it looks like if you're making an effort to stay in the city, keep your family in the city, and we're here to always to support that. But other than that, I'd like to see what the other board members has to say, and we do need to hear from the neighbors as well.
Okay, before I go to Kevin, I just know, what you referred to before, on the proposed lot, the required frontage is 75 feet, and the chart shows 22.11 feet. Did you say that might be wrong?
No, I'm saying on the thing from the planning board,
Oh, okay.
this thing from the planning board, I'm interpreting, it says 25 feet of frontages provided for all 3 proposed parcels. I just, I don't know what, I don't get their, I don't understand what they're saying there, because,
No, I didn't understand. I misunderstood you. I didn't understand what they were saying either, because
Yeah.
it appears as though,
there is 66 feet frontage total right now for the 2 lots. So that 66 feet would be divided between the 3 lots, would each have 22 feet of frontage.
right, so what they're saying is,
The issue is that 75 feet frontage is the zoning requirement, so,
so that they just split the 66 up, you split that up divided by the 3 lots.
that's right.
Okay. So I think what their point was is they're required to have 75 feet, so it's a substantial request for 22 feet, but it is rural out there, so,
I said, it's not really affecting anyone, like I said, I mean, that's, there's plenty of room there and everything, and we're set so far back off the road, and, because the driveway itself is 300 feet long, you can't even see our houses from the street anyhow,
yeah, I mean, the shape and the size of the lot, definitely, it's not typical for what you usually see.
No.
Kevin? Sorry.
Mr. Chairman, question I have here as well is, are we recording, for the frontage for the 3 properties, is this a shared easement here, recording easements in addition to everything else? I've seen no mention of that, but presumably the driveway would be a shared driveway for the 3 homes.
Yes, that's what it, yeah, that's what it is now.
It is now.
Right. And is there an easement today on the benefit of each property for, so you've got a shared driveway?
Yeah,
Well, it's in the family now, you have a little more flexibility, but I would just want to make sure that you had the right.
I mean, it wasn't always family, there were other people, like I said, that owned the other 206, for 20 years, It was never an issue, it was just something that we always worked out between. Honestly, I don't remember if there's a recorded easement. I
Was there
don't think it's a
anything in the
recorded
deed
easement.
with respect to that?
I'm sorry?
Was there anything in your deed with respect to the
I
right of
think
way?
it's,
or
if
access?
I don't remember seeing my deed in a while, but I think it just said it's a right of way.
Right.
I don't think it's recorded as an easement. I don't recall, really.
I think what the engineer's office is saying, it's not a right-of-way, it's just a common access area, so we could run into the situation where your daughter sells the house, or you sell the house suddenly, and then somebody buys it, and it turns out that that land is privately owned to their property, and they can cut off all access and landlock the other people. So I think there's an issue there that needs to be addressed, that maybe can't be addressed tonight,
Right. Yeah,
unless you have any other.
I guess my comment and suggestion might be to suggest a continuance where you look into some of these issues, because I think I'd want to see that things were recorded properly, and generally I'm in favor of the proposal, but I'd want to make sure that the owners of the 3 families are protected in case of any, change of ownership, et cetera, with respect to this shared access, because it seems to be a question of, is it a right-of-way, or would there be easements? It's, as well as the sewer line, whether it's adding a 3rd smaller line or putting in a central one, because there's cost and everything else associated with that. So I guess that would be my recommendation, would be to seek some counsel, or to, talk to the engineer's office, et cetera. Those are my initial observations.
Okay, did you do any test holes for drilling there, by the way?
No.
They referenced that there was substantial ledge. I know-
Yeah, there is a lot of ledge there, yeah. Because even when I ran the sewer lines, I mean, they did hit ledge in one area, a little bit. And my daughter's house, it's a slab, they have no basement because there is ledge over there, so.
So you're anticipating ledge?
Well, I'm hoping there's not, but,
Yeah,
but I wouldn't be surprised if there is, I'm
yeah.
trying to be positive and hoping there's not, I mean, I'm just being a little bit somewhat hopeful because my septic, our septic system is in the front yard, and that's, that's sort of where the land is that we're cutting out, so I'm thinking, it's okay, it was okay for that, so maybe we have a clear area there.
Okay.
And can I say one more thing too? Now, that driveway, even the driveway going, I know there's, as I say, there's 60 feet of frontage, but even the access going up to the property, this is 40 feet wide. So, I mean, it's a wide area. It's not like it's a narrow strip of land, so.
Right,
It's
a
40
wide-
feet all the way up, so.
Right. But the way it's shown on the plot plan here, it's showing three, each piece of property would have a narrow strip. And
Yeah,
they
but
clearly,
I mean,
the driveway would be in some way shared, so.
Yeah.
I just want to make sure that you were legally entitled to the access, and each of the homeowners would be, so.
Yeah.
And the issue comes up when it's, plowing or repairs or anything like that, that doesn't end up being the city's responsibility to do that. And it's a substantial way. I mean, it's not just a small driveway. Yeah, is it 300 feet?
Yeah,
It's 100 yards, yeah, it's a pretty long shared driveway. But if you didn't have that driveway there, this whole parcel back here looks like that would be landlocked, because I assume there's no access over here in the back, right?
no, that's a farm behind us.
And there's no access on the side.
No. It's state forest, it's state forest behind us, and that's a farm next to us, Rowley's farm next to us, so.
So you're getting your frontage by dividing the width of this by 3.
Yes.
Okay. All right, Kevin, anything else?
No, Mr. Chairman.
Rick, anything?
Through you, Mr. Chairman. There's a lot going on this property with easements and sewer lines. The way I looked at reading the engineer's paperwork here, it seems as though they want them to run a one main line down the road and new water lines. That's what I took it as. And that's why they said there was ledge. I don't know if they're trying to determine, but I think you have to sit with the engineer's office and ask them what they want. Do you want us to run a main line? Because you're gonna have to run another line
That's what we
anyways.
wanted to do last year when we ran sewage initially.
Yeah.
That was we questioned that, we asked about just running one regular line and teeing off it, but at the
Yeah.
time, they said, no, they wanted separate lines,
Well, did they know you were gonna possibly make a
No,
third out there?
not at that time, no.
See,
No.
that's why, now you put the third in, I think that they're just saying, you might as well put one main sewer line in
Mm-hmm.
with a manhole on lot 50 probably,
Mm-hmm.
with everybody coming into it with an easement from your daughters and whoever else. And that way, it would be, more efficient. And that way you could pull up a water line while you're doing it at the same time, get rid of the wells where you have septic systems out there. Who else is still on septic? Is there anybody else on septic still out there?
We haven't tied in, actually. We ran the line up, but we haven't tied
So
into it, though.
you're still septic, yeah.
Yeah,
So
but
you're-
I mean, if, obviously, at this point, I would,
Yes,
if we,
you're better off.
Yeah,
Getting
yeah.
city water.
yeah.
Um,
I mean, I don't know who else is, I know most of the neighbors have tied in,
Did you have to go to the planning board to do A&Rs on these lots for lot, because you're swapping lines and moving lines?
No, I haven't gone to the planning board yet. I had gone to see, I had shown it to Aaron. I showed it to him initially, but he suggested that I come before the zoning board first. He had suggested I take this step first before I go to planning.
Okay, because you're swapping lines and making a new lot parcel, which you need A&R sign-offs on all three of them. And you do have an easement going through your new 50 over to the other lot, 5C, sorry, 5D to 5C, so there's a lot going on here. And I'd like to see if we could continue and get a larger plan. I'm having a little trouble with the plan here. One plan, it says 40 feet wide, the right-of-way, but it's actually a private driveway, common driveway. That's what it's called. And to you, Mr. Commissioner, do we allow common driveways in the city? Is there common drives allowed?
Well, there's 3 of them on Twining Park Road.
I'm just asking, not to say we're not for
Yeah.
it, but I just.
No, I know,
because
yeah.
Everybody, all three homes own a piece of that driveway, and if, unfortunately, you sell it to somebody and you don't get along, there's always trouble.
Yeah.
I come from a town where we have trouble right now. That one's putting stones, one's putting nails, and it gets tough, believe me, if it's not
Oh, I
family.
understand that, yeah.
So you're opening up a common driveway for, you to have three homes back there, and hopefully you all get along, because if you plow it, or whoever plows it, they don't pay, it becomes a very hard situation. I don't think the city would ever accept it as a street. You don't have enough for a cul-de-sac, so. But those are the things I'd be looking for right now, Mr. Chairman. See if we can get some answers.
I agree, and I think, if we ever approve this tonight without those answers, I think you're maybe unknowingly creating some unwanted title issues with regard to the driveway. I mean, I just see it as a nightmare if there's a sale or somebody has to sell or decides to sell. So long as you're all living as family members and you're all getting along, there's no problem. But the minute somebody sells or the minute there's a dispute and somebody goes to an attorney, the first thing the attorney's going to see is there's a problem with the title, with the driveway. Who owns it? Because one person owns that. And it looks like it's being referred to, as Rick said and Kevin said, as a right-of-way, but it's actually not a right-of-way. You're using it as a right-of-way. But I don't know that there's any, and maybe there is a recorded easement. I just don't think there is.
I don't think there is either, actually.
Because that we would have some reference to it on this plan or possibly a deed. So I think the issues that this board's going to look for answers are the issue of a recorded right-of-way. Do you have a right-of-way, and is there some sort of easement or agreement to use the driveway? The sewer issue, what they want you to do, and I agree, I think they're hinting that if you're doing this, if you're going to put the sewer in, you might as well put the water in, because you're going down anyway. So you're cutting
They
through.
go in separate trenches, though, I guess. They don't go in the same trench, I guess. I understand.
Yeah. Do you know anything about that, Rick? If they,
So, Mr. Chairman, they have to be spread apart, but when they run the new sewer line down, you have to be X amount of feet away from it. You have enough room, you have 40-foot wide.
Now, we got plenty of room,
I
yeah.
mean,
I
you've
think
dug
it-
up-
I
have you
think it
dug
is
up
the same
twice out there,
trench.
Right?
What's that?
You've already dug it up twice, right? The driveway's been dug up twice?
Well, for the gas line and for the sewerage, yeah.
Yeah, so.
Yeah.
You can make enough room to get them in there.
Yeah.
Mr. Chairman. And if the engineers felt that it wasn't safe, they'd tell them to stay on the well, but they're better off just going to city.
right, when you're going down there. And I think that what they're also talking about is if you do the sewer line, and there is some sort of agreement, it needs to be recorded. So you might want to consult an attorney and figure out what they mean by that, because they're not going to draw it up for you. So you're going to have something you're going to need something that's in recordable form anyway. So you might want to talk to a land use lawyer, and try to, have them, if you do go that route, have them work through some of these questions. What was the number issue with the numbering the house? Not a big deal, but,
No.
sometimes that's not as easy as it sounds, because you can't change numbers, I don't think, that already exist. So you just might want to look into that issue as well.
Yeah, well, Mr. Chairman, regarding that issue, they're 208, the daughter's house is 206, and the house condescending is 200, so they could possibly go 204, 206, 208, something like that. I think there's room for that, but we do have several other issues on the table here.
Mr. Chairman,
Go ahead.
do we need to see a drawing of the proposed home at this time, or not?
Yeah, that's the other thing. If it gets that far where we're going to get approvals, this board requires that we see a artist rendition, but you don't have to spend, I'm not talking about architectural plans, just basically a rendition, a print or a drawing, substantially what the home is going to look like upon completion. So we have an idea of what you're building, and you'll be held to that, not to every possible piece of what you propose, but pretty much it's going to
Basically,
be
the footprint.
a facsimile of what you give us. That's what we generally have done in the past. And the purpose of that is just so we know what we're approving. We can't just say, go ahead and build it, and then somebody go by there and it looks like it doesn't fit in, or it doesn't fit in with the character of the neighborhood, which is part of the standard that we have to consider here when we either approve or deny your request. So I think that covers everything. I know there may be other people here wanted to speak either in favor or in opposition, so we'll let who's ever come here, if there is anybody. So they might bring up other issues that you need to address as well.
Okay.
So do you have any other questions before you sit down?
No, I think I'm all set. I just wanted to make note, too, that in the package I had given to the city, too, I had gotten a little letter signed by all my neighbors showing that they have no opposition to us doing this, too, so.
We did see that, and that
Yeah.
does help.
Yeah, I walked around and told them what my plan was, just to see if they had any problems with it, and they had no problems with it at all.
Okay, and we just encourage you to work with the engineers department as closely as you can. And my feeling is you just need to get, with a project of this magnitude, I really think you need to get an attorney. It's just like, we can't force you to, obviously, but I think that rather than come back with more questions and more continuances, somebody who can anticipate what we're going to ask and address those concerns before we come back might be a help to you. I know it sometimes can be expensive, but like Rick said, this is, there's a lot going on in this lot. You're looking for a lot here. And, this board would, I don't see any apparent opposition to your theory of what you're doing, but we need more specifics, and maybe somebody can help you, navigate through that landmine.
Okay.
It's sometimes complicated.
All right,
All right?
thank you.
Okay, is anybody here wishing to speak in favor of this petition? Anybody else in favor of this petition? Come on up. Please state your name and address for the record, please.
I'm Erin Herbor, 206 Trying Park Road.
Okay, what would you like to tell us?
I'm in favor of the petition, and just for the record, I'm willing to give the land from our parcel.
Okay, and you're at 206,
206.
which is on this plan, is it 5B or 5C? So the new lot, 5B. So you have 41,000, almost 42,000 square feet of land there on your lot. Is that correct? Did you know that? Well, you do.
I don't know.
According to this, you do.
Okay.
All right.
We have plenty of land, more than we
Okay.
need, so it's not a problem.
Okay, the board notes your support of this project.
Correct.
Okay, anybody else wishing to speak in
Thank
favor? In favor? Okay, hearing none, that portion of the public hearing is closed. Anybody here wish to speak in opposition? In opposition to this petition? And hearing none, that portion of the public hearing is closed. So we'll open up to the board. Final thoughts before we continue this, if we do that?
Well, Mr. Chairman, I agree. Mr. Bienvenu and Mr. Kavanaugh brought up some great points, and this thing is nowhere near ready to be voted on, as we found out here. So I have nothing to add. I'm willing to make a continuance here, but I think with the issues here that are on the table, they're going to need some considerable time. I'm thinking at least 30 days.
I agree. I think if we do one more meeting, you're just going to come back. Can one of you come up to the podium for 1 second, please? Do you think 2 meetings from now, or do you think 3? I mean, I'm just, sometimes these things, you don't get your answers as quickly as you'd like, so.
What are the meetings every twice a
Other,
month?
so the next meeting is when, Stephanie? Right. So April 20, the next meeting is April 27th? April 13th, so the next meeting that we're talking about, I think she meant, is April 27th, the next meeting. And then after that is what, Stephanie? May 11th? Maybe the May 11th meeting might make more sense.
Yeah, okay, yeah, probably
Okay,
would.
do you
Yeah,
guys
give
agree
me
with
plenty of
that?
time to get everything together.
Mr. Chairman?
Okay. All right, I need a motion.
Chairman, with that being said, I'll make a motion to continue till May the 11th, 2009.
Second the motion.
Okay, roll call, please, Stephanie?
Continue.
Continue.
Continue to May 11th?
Continue?
Continue.
Okay, folks, this matter is going to be continued until May 11th. There won't be any further notice, so you have to be here May 11th. And we strongly urge you to consider what our comments were as far as trying to get us some answers. Okay, thank you very much.
Through you, Mr. Chairman?
Excuse
Did
me.
you also go to see Captain Weber about seeing if it's mandatory that you put a fire hydrant somewhere on that private way, or private drive? Okay. Okay, I didn't see it on the plan, that's why, so, just as long as it's taken care of, that's all we care about.
Okay, thanks, Rick. All right. Okay, the next petition is a request for a variance, 28 North Street. The applicant is Barbara Palermo. This is ZB 2009, number 11. And this is at 28 North Street. It's located in a traditional two-family district, and the petitioner would like to reestablish the former lot line of 26 and 28 North Street, allowing for the construction of a single family on the vacant lot at 28 North Street. Welcome, ma'am.
Thank you. Good afternoon. I'm Linnea Thody with Blattman, Bobrowski, and Mead, and I'm here on behalf of Barbara Palermo. I'm here to request, as her application states, a variance to redivide her lots. She lives at 26 North Street. She owns the lot at 28 North Street. It was determined by the legal department that those two lots merged. And in order for her to construct a home on 28 North Street, it was also determined by the legal department and also by Mr. Camacho that she would need to apply for a variance to divide those lots. As the lots sit at this point, we believe that they meet the test for a variance under your ordinances. The first part of that test being a special hardship. Essentially, had any other person purchased lot 28, or I'm sorry, 28 North Street, they could have built a house as of right on that lot. It is a fully conforming lot in all ways. It conforms with the zoning ordinance. And so had I purchased the lot, or any of you, a house would already probably be built on that piece of property. So to hold Ms. Palermo to the merger doctrine really does put her at a disadvantage, and it does inflict a hardship on her. As far as the public good, allowing these lots to be redivided or to reestablish the lot line would have no detrimental effects on the public good. Basically, that would be looking at the health, safety, and welfare of the neighborhood residents. The lot is the only vacant lot in the neighborhood, in a neighborhood that is fairly dense. And putting the house that Ms. Palermo has proposed on that piece of property wouldn't change the neighborhood in any way. There wouldn't even be any additional on-street parking. The way that everything is designed, the parking would be on the property of 28 North Street. Essentially, the only effect would be the addition of 1 or 2 cars for a single-family home. And then the intent of zoning, which is your third component of obtaining a variance, allowing Ms. Palermo to put a house on the lot isn't going to in any way nullify the intent of the zoning, the ordinances as they're written. Really, in this case, it could possibly be a concern of population, and like I said, it would only be a single-family house in an already dense neighborhood, and it really wouldn't change that at all. The other elements that you would look at is to encourage the appropriate use of land. This is a fully conforming lot, and the appropriate use of that, based on your zoning ordinances, is for a single-family home. So if you were to allow her to reestablish that lot line, nothing in the neighborhood would change, except that on that vacant lot, there would be a single-family home.
But wouldn't that put the two-family not in compliance?
Well, the two-family is already not in compliance, and leaving the lots as one doesn't help the nonconformity of that existing structure. It's not going to change the setbacks in any way. So that's already non-conforming, and it's a pre-existing non-conforming structure. So, leaving the lots as one doesn't really help make that any less non-conforming.
Okay, so the history with this, just, I know it goes way back, but just in a nutshell, Mrs. Palermo owned the two-family that's existing right now,
Correct.
the applicant. At some point, she acquired the vacant lot next to her.
Yes,
Because she's the same owner and she owned that other lot, then it merged pursuant to the merger doctrine.
according to the legal department.
Right, and you have a different position on that, and that's before the appeals court?
That's
the
before
land court?
the land court. There's a summary judgment motion pending, and that hasn't been resolved. This variance application is assuming that the lots have merged, the way that the legal department has interpreted it.
Okay, and the reason it's not a repetitive petition is because the 2 years has expired?
Correct.
When was that?
The original application was in October of 2007, October 18th, and that was when Ms. Palermo requested that requested a building permit without any relief from zoning.
And as far as the parking for the two-family now, the
Yes.
two-family uses part of that lot.
It does, and Ms. Palermo is prepared to reserve an easement on record
And record it?
and record it, absolutely.
Do you know the details of a proposed easement, what the,
The language of it,
well, I mean, the dimensions?
I don't, off the top of my head, it essentially is just what is overhanging the lot. So it would be for her driveway, and there's a little piece of a stairway that does overhang the property of 28.
Well, I just think,
North
I think it's
Street.
significant and relevant only because, as you've been by that area, it's extremely congested.
Yes.
So any off-street parking that can be guaranteed to future owners there when Ms. Palermo or
Yep.
possibly if this is approved, if the owners of the single family are gone, we don't want to create, because it's such an unusually dense area,
Right.
we don't want to create any
Right.
further off-street parking because the plows can't get up there in the winter. It's very difficult
Right.
to maneuver, so.
If you have the plan in
I
front
do.
of you? There's the proposed gravel parking. It does extend over from where her existing
Overhang,
driveway is.
right.
And that would allow for enough space for parking for the two-family. There's essentially, I don't know how large a car is when you stick it on there. There's enough for at least two.
Is that tandem parking, or is it
I don't know.
one in back of each other, or is it double?
I believe it's one in and then the next one in.
Right, okay.
They're end to end in the parking. But as
But
far
what,
as.
I guess what I'm saying is there any way that the top car and how it's shown can get out of the lot by turning around, or they have to have this car back out to get out?
Well, the entire width is 19.84 feet.
Mm-hmm.
So, I guess it would ultimately depend on your driving skills and how wide that car is. But I think
So the answer is no.
I think, no, I think the answer is yes. There's plenty, almost 20 feet is considerable. Some roads are 20 feet wide.
that's the existing house. Did you bring any proposed drawings of the house?
Of the house, no.
Do you have any idea what should be proposing there?
A small, single-family home. The dimensions of it are, well, the footprint of it is on the plan. And the driveway space for that proposed home is also shown.
Have you considered any shrubbery or greenery in between the houses? Has she considered anything?
She hasn't. She is open to anything that, things of that sort, whether it be fencing. At this, it really, she's flexible as far as the conditions
Okay.
are concerned.
All right, we'll see what everybody else has to say. Bill, any questions, concerns?
So as far as the parking for the existing two-family, that's existing two-family, correct?
It is.
Did you state how many parking spots are currently there?
I would say there are two. It depends on if you have a couple of small vehicles, you may be able to squeeze more in there, but I would say, there are safely two spaces
For the two-family?
for the two-family, which is what they have right now.
But current zoning calls for two per dwelling, I believe, right? Am I correct in, I'm just kind of going back to the chairman's point about if we grant this on the parking, I know the two-family currently exists.
It currently exists,
I
right?
did notice when I drove by, it looks like there's a gravelled area for the proposed new lot, where it looks like there's cars parked in there. I don't know who's parked there, but it looks
That-
like somebody's doing some parking there.
I think they've, since it's been, there actually was a building on that lot
Right.
at one point.
one
And I think
point
since
there
that
was.
building was raised, and then it's gravel, I think that the area or the people have used it as a parking lot, Bill.
Well, when I see proposed gravel drive on the, what we were submitted tonight, it kind of looks like what's already there, which would be in front of the proposed new home. Is the parking for the proposed new home going,
It goes deep,
yeah, okay.
and it also
And it's providing
runs
three-
along the front of the proposed.
So is it 3D plus a couple in front?
Yes.
So there's like 5 spots just for the single family?
There is more,
All right.
there's a lot of spots for the single
Okay.
family.
But you're saying there's
Yes.
only 2 for the current two-family?
Two, right, I mean, they're wide spots, so I know that 2 cars could park next to one another on the proposed
Okay. I'm
gravel
just-
drive.
I'm just trying to hone in on the parking, Mr. Chairman. I'm not,
Yeah, no, I understand. It's,
kind of coming back to your point about if we do this, but I'm assuming there's enough parking for the current two-family. If there wasn't, I would assume there would have been a problem with parking, but,
yeah, and I think that when there was a house there, they probably had the parking that they
Yep.
propose to keep now
okay.
of the two. I mean, at least that's what it looks like.
It was, what was there previously, Mr. Chairman, was a multifamily, I want to say as much as a 6-unit, and it had no off-street parking, if I remember correctly, if my memory serves me right.
It was definitely a more than a two-family. I don't know if it had 6, it may have, but I know that
He
it
didn't
was
say
larger
6
than a
legal
2.
units, he just said 6 units.
No, I think that was brought up at one meeting before, too, how many units are actually there, but it's a two-family as far as you know. and you bel-
The existing lot,
Yes,
the
the
existing
existing-
structure is a two-family.
Yeah, and you,
Yes.
and you
the-
believe there's only 2 parking spots
Currently,
currently?
yes. When they're extended, there will be more room. But I'm not going to,
Okay.
speak to the size of the vehicles that they're trying to pull in.
Right.
Is there any way that the applicant could offer more parking to her own house? In other words, is there any way to get 2 more spots,
So 4 total.
4 total, without diminishing what parking is provided for the single family? I'm just looking at
Yes.
area there, and I don't know if that's, even the best
So-
use of the space, but what I'm
Yeah.
saying is,
Somehow configure the parking and the easement for the existing
Well,
home.
Again, when, on the drawing, it says existing house, and to the right, it says proposed gravel parking.
Yes.
So does proposed mean they plan on changing it and widening the
Proposed
parking?
means that if the variance is granted, then an easement will be reserved
Okay,
for the use of parking, and if the board requires that 4 parking places be available, then that's what Ms. Palermo will
Yeah.
have to reserve.
Mr. Chairman, I'm with you. I want to echo your comments, which I was thinking we're on the same page there, certainly. Since we're already making the existing home non-conforming, I'd like to see somehow 4 spots in there as well. I mean, the new home, I'm a little favorable to, because that neighborhood simply cannot afford any more multifamilies without off-street parking. It just cannot. I think we're all on the same page there. But I would like to see the existing multi, if we could have 4 spots there. Stack parking, I'm willing to even accept at this point. That would bring a lot of relief to the neighborhood. It would even help, the project would help the neighborhood in that sense. But that would be my take on it. I mean, this petition has been in front of this board. Literally, we're going way, way back here. And eventually, something's going to happen to that land. It can't stay vacant forever.
Right.
But let's see what the rest of the board has to say, but I do support you there, Mr. Chairman, about 4 spots on the existing home. Thank you.
okay. Kevin?
I'd also be in favor of seeing more off-street parking for the existing multifamily home, and would like to see it situated in such a way that it was not too close to the building, and I think at least 5 feet or something like that. It is a very congested area, so, I mean, that's an important consideration. No other comments, Mr. Chairman?
Okay, Rick?
To you, Mr. Chairman, since this is in land court, can we even vote on this, or do we have to wait for the outcome?
Well, I think we can, because I don't think the land court issue is relevant to what is proposed tonight. I think the land court issue is, I think both sides filed summary judgment motions.
I believe Barbara Palermo filed motion for summary judgment. I don't know if there was a cross motion or if it was just answered. But the situation in land court is regarding whether the lots have merged. Essentially, if this variance were allowed tonight, that case in land court could be dismissed. And that's a benefit to everyone, because at this point, it's just on summary judgment, on a summary judgment motion, which may or may not get rid of the full case. And in that situation, not only are we waiting for the summary judgment decision, it could go on in litigation.
Right, because the issue is whether or not the lots
Whether
merged.
they merged or not, and this application is assuming they merged.
So what they're in front of us for, assuming the judge comes back and rules in favor of the city, and what we said that it merges, they're saying, okay, now we're back in front of you, forget about that. Assuming it merges, we're looking to move the lot line and then make this single-family more than they need for single-family. And the only downfall is that, the two-family is non-compliant, but it was non-compliant before.
Exactly.
And we can't do anything about that because that's a setback issue, and you can't set the house back any further.
Right.
So we've been stuck with this petition for, I mean, you guys had it before me, so you've been stuck with this for a long time. Usually what we've done in areas like this, when a petitioner comes in and they have even an undersized lot, but they show other undersized lots, we've approved them because it fits in with the character of the neighborhood. Here, it's going to be actually a little bit of an oversized lot from what I can see.
Slightly over the minimum lot requirement.
Right, and more than some others have. And my concern is still the parking issue, But if that can be resolved with 4 spots, and as Kevin said, set a little bit away from the house, and there can be some, I mean, I think we are cutting into what greenery she could possibly put there when we do that, but I think in that area, that's less of a concern than in some other areas, because it seems to be so congested and everything seems to be so heavily paved, that might not be a big issue. At least it's not with me.
It sounds like actually parking might be a bigger issue.
It's definitely a bigger issue.
And as long as she can get the 4 spaces that the board is requesting, which she will be able to do.
It looks like she can do it.
Yeah,
And we would require recorded
recorded easement,
parking easement for that.
absolutely.
And I think the board also would like, I mean, I guess if the board votes to approve this tonight, we can do it contingent upon you presenting us through the building department with proposed plans that we could bring up at either the next meeting or a meeting after that.
On
And
the house that she's,
right, we don't need
Proposed
just as we tell all the applicants, we don't need the architectural plans. We don't need it to
Right.
go out and spend thousands of dollars, but we do need an artist rendition of basically what the house is going to look like.
sure,
So if she knows what she's going to build, if it gets approved, and we see that plan, then that's something
sure,
that we're going to hold it to. So if you give us something and you sign it with the plot plan, and she builds something substantially different, there will be an issue. So
right,
I want to make that clear that if you present us with something that we don't feel is acceptable because it doesn't fit in with the character of the neighborhood, then we're not going to, it would be contingent upon us accepting that. So
Right.
we would send it back to you for further modifications on it.
That-
At least that's my feeling. Does anybody have any other final thoughts before we?
Through you, Mr. Chairman. I mean, again, this has been going back and forth for a while here. Is there any way we could split the lots right in half?
well, that would make both lots non-conforming.
We got one that's non-conforming already, so it's,
Well, yes,
I mean, it fixes our parking issue for Mrs. Palermo on her parcel. It gives us more room for her to get more parking. It gives us at least setbacks and side setbacks on the new house. You can still meet 10 to the summer 25. The lots are small. The lots are small all through that neighborhood.
they are, yeah.
No easements required. So if you get somebody who is, again, if you sell it to somebody who you get into a problem with, next thing you know, they're putting up fences and everybody's fighting and back in court, and, I mean, I think we should look at it and try to make the best of what we have. That's my opinion. It does work out. I mean, I laid it out kinda.
Numbers-wise,
And it makes for a nice setup for everybody. She gets a little bit more parking. The house is, 11 feet from the lot line. It kind of works. I don't know if anybody else is in favor of it. We've been pushing it back and forth. You'd have easements. I mean, something's got to go there sooner or later.
Right, I agree. I think it's a very good suggestion, and, the lot, the whole lot together, the whole parcel, total parcel, is in such a shape where, one house is to one side, the proposed house is to the other, and, I'm looking at extending the parking over, so we're doing that almost anyway by easement, so
Right.
I think Rick's idea is excellent. I think, split down the middle, and then,
Obviously, we have nobody here, Mr. Chairman, against it. I mean, let's try to work with the petitioner. We're going to get something out there. And I think it's
agree.
just going
I
to be
mean-
more detrimental with easements and stuff.
might be a lot easier for the applicant, a lot easier for everybody.
it
I mean-
could be, it very well could be. I would have to, we never discussed that because that wasn't something we could really ask for. We were really just, we couldn't, it was better for us to ask for one non-conforming lot.
Right.
Than to ask for 2 non-conforming lots. So that wasn't something that was really discussed.
Right, and with the history of it, I don't blame you at all, but
Yeah.
I think if you get the board's, there's no guarantees, but if I'm hearing what I'm hearing, we're all basically in favor of supporting this, and try to do what's best for that neighborhood.
Right.
If we're gonna approve something there, and Rick's idea is great, if we split it right down the middle, then everybody gets a little breathing room, and we create actually more parking, and we don't have the need for easements and possible title flaws or anything down the road.
Right. The only concern that I could see happening with that scenario is the building permit for the 28 North Street when she does go to get a building permit to put this house up. She's now trying to put a house on a non-conforming lot. And that is going to require another variance.
That's what you'll come in for. If you split the lots in half,
Yeah,
you'll go for a variance on both of them. They're both non-conforming, they're both undersized. We give a variance to both of them, which allows her to keep her two-family on the lot that it sits on and to build a new one with the variance for the new one. She'd go to the building department, they'd give her a building permit.
okay.
Basically, that's what you're doing with all these easements and stuff. You know, you're taking from
Right.
one, giving to, you know, it's.
Yes. you
She's
are.
really putting herself into a predicament because the single family actually owns,
Her driveway.
yeah, most of it. If she
Yes.
couldn't walk up her stairs, I mean, basically, I know the property. She
Yeah.
won't be able to walk up her back stairs if somebody gets into, you know,
Well, as long as there's a recorded easement for the parking, then no one can legally stop her
Yeah.
from using the driveway.
but I'd rather see it two lots, they're undersized. Let the person buy the single-family home, let him own what he owns. You get more parking for her also. So I think let's try to work it out. Let's see if we can work
I
it.
think the other aspect you may want to look at is in terms of marketability for the properties when they're eventually sold. I think a property without easements is probably worth more than sometimes than a property with, especially easements like this, that people could look at it and say, you know what, I'm not going to buy that because I see, if I don't get along with this person, a lot of people don't know what an easement is, and sometimes to enforce an easement, you have to go to court, which costs thousands of dollars, so.
Right, it does.
It's your choice, it's a suggestion, you know, that I didn't think of before, that when Rick brought up, it makes an awful lot of sense, it really does. But you're in a tough spot, 'cause
I'm in a
you're-
tough spot. I can't agree to that tonight. I can't without talking to
Would you be
Mr.
opposed
Palermo.
to a 2-week continuance to talk to your client, and in that time, if you could get everything together, if she does agree, then you could get everything together. Does she have enough time to get everything together to advertise? No.
weeks? I don't know if.
It becomes a new application at that point.
Right.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Kevin.
What I was going to suggest is make the request for the other variance at the same time to build on an undersized lot, if, you know, combine those two together.
Simultaneous petitions?
Or put in a second petition at the same time. I mean, I'd be personally, given the alternatives, I'd be in favor of what Rick has proposed
I
as well.
agree, Mr. Kavanaugh.
Yeah. So if that was the concern of the applicant, I think at least hearing the intent of the board here tonight, at least the spirit of it.
I think the good news, it looks like you're going to get approvals. The question I think we have is what's best for the neighborhood, and
Right.
your question is what's best for your client, I guess.
Right.
And I think maybe the answer might be the same. I think, you know, what's best for your client may be what's best for the city, and everybody wins there. So,
Right.
go ahead. Right, so are you saying that if you put it on for 2 weeks, you could
So
then
continue this.
continue this for 2
Continue this.
weeks?
Yep,
You talk to your client, if your client says, no, I'd just prefer to do it like it is, then you have a
Yep.
right to come back and say, and then we'll vote on what's in front of us right now.
sure.
If you
Yep.
come back in 2 weeks and say, I talked to my client, and the good news is that she agrees with the board, she's going to do that, then you start your advertising, get on here as soon as you can.
Yep.
Mr. Chairman, if I may interrupt, the next meeting is exactly 3 weeks from this evening,
Okay,
so you get an extra week.
So that's.
April the 13th, yes.
okay,
I'm sorry, it was April
13th,
13th?
3 weeks from tonight.
okay.
Okay. Okay.
And I will not be here April 13th, so somebody, we have to make sure that we do have a full agenda, I mean, a full, full board that night.
Okay.
Okay?
How does Mr. Bailey feel?
How does
about it?
Mr. Bailey feel about it? I mean, how does Bill feel about it?
How do you feel about this? Okay.
I didn't know. I was the last one in line. I didn't hear from you, Bill. Okay? I think it's the
Hard to
best for the
see each
neighborhood.
other.
Something's going there sooner or later.
So I think,
Correct.
does that make sense to you?
It does. And I'll speak with Ms. Palermo tomorrow or tonight,
Okay.
and we'll talk to her about how she feels about that. It might have been something that long ago she had considered, and her attorneys, there's been,
Well, I just think with the
said
history of
no.
what was going on, she probably had no idea where this would go, and I
Right.
agree, asking for two was a lot, she couldn't even get one, so,
So,
Um,
right.
Yes, but in this
Shown.
case, normally that is the case, but with this property.
Given the configuration,
Yes.
it does make sense. Okay.
but just to make sure that this is protected for tonight, we'll keep the public meeting open till the end, so in case you decide to go forward on the petition now,
On this
we
one.
get to hear if there's any opposition or anybody else in support of this.
Okay.
Okay, anything else before, okay, anybody else here wishing to speak in favor of this petition, in favor? Okay, hearing none, that portion of the public hearing is closed. Anybody here wishing to speak in opposition? In opposition, and hearing none, the board recognizes no opposition to this petition. So, the public hearing is closed, and I need a motion to,
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion to continue till April the 13th, 2009.
Second the motion.
okay, roll call, please, Stephanie?
Continue?
Continue.
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 Okay, ma'am, this matter's been unanimously continued to April 13th. There'll be no other notice for anybody else, but you are required to be here that evening.
Yes.
Okay?
Thank you.
Thanks a lot. Okay, the final petition for tonight is ZB 2009, number 12, special permit. The applicant is New England Institute of HVAC regarding the property located at 240 Smith Street. It's located in the light industrial district, and the petitioner would like to allow an HVAC school in conjunction with the existing business according to Article 12, Section 12.3 of the Table of Use Regulations.
Yes.
Welcome, sir.
Hi, good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. My name is David Russo, 30 Jeanette Street, Drake, Mass.
Okay, what would you like to tell us about the petition, sir?
Mr. Chairman, if you don't mind, I have a couple of letters. Would you?
Sure, no,
Okay.
bring them up.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Okay, Mr. Chairman, what I'm proposing is to open up a school for adults, post-secondary, to teach young men and women of all ages the skills of HVAC, to try and help the local economy find a job, give them hands-on training. It's pretty much.
Okay, now, you're located in a light industrial zone,
Yes,
and so this is an allowed use, but it's required a special permit to do it.
yes, sir.
Okay, and what exactly is, you have a shop that's there now? And
Yes, correct.
And
Yep.
how do you propose to run this training program of the school?
Well, what we do is start out with electrical, basic electricity. We have these boards, 2x2 boards, 2 feet by 2 feet. Teach them basic electricity, series circuits, parallel circuits, low voltage, high voltage controls. I set up a bunch of refrigeration trainers, give them hands-on refrigeration units, how to service them, repair them, install them. I have like 7 different types of furnaces, a rooftop unit, all inside the shop. to deliver hands-on experience. Wire them up, hook them up, low voltage.
And how many students do you anticipate having?
Just 10, sir.
Is
That's
that,
a cap.
and do you usually, you anticipate having 10?
Yeah, I hope so.
And how long does the program go for? I assume at some point they're finished.
Yeah, a little over 3 months. 13 weeks to be exact, sir.
Okay, and what's your training in this?
I have 30 years experience. I've been teaching for the past 8 years. I currently teach over Greater Lowell, HVAC for the last 2 years over there. And, I've been teaching adults in Boston, Reds Technical Center in Charlestown. So I figured it's good for the community up here. A lot of people can't transport down to Woburn or Boston. I think it's good for the city and for the community.
Yeah, I do too. I've never really, since I've been on the board, nothing like this has come across. But it's definitely an allowed use. It's just a special permit, and I guess you're not going to be adding any type of machinery that's not already there? Is it nothing, no appendages to the building, nothing like that?
No, sir, no, I had the commissioner come in and, he took a look at it. Only thing I had to do was have some gas work and, some electrical work done. I pulled the permits have been pulled and signed off on.
Okay. No, it looks like a good project, a good idea, and
Thank you.
it's probably a, significant need for it around here.
Yeah, the response has been very good, overwhelming, positive so far. Haven't had any negatives yet.
Now, does the people who go through the course get any kind of license or certificate? or-
Yes, they do. They get a certificate for us. Our paperwork's currently in with the Department of Education to get licensed by the state of Mass. And also they get their EPA certificate, which is a national certificate they need to buy and transport refrigerants. Pretty much you need that to get a job in the industry, and that's included in the course. And the course is very affordable. It's only $4,500, and we give them all the hand tools that they need, which is a big plus. So when they graduate, they have all the tools that they need to go out and start working. And there are plenty of jobs. We have job assistance also I'd like to offer. I have a lot of contacts in the field. I feel like I can help people get back to work.
So it's $4,500 a student, is that?
Yes, sir.
And you go through 3 cycles of this a year, 3 or 4 cycles?
Yes, correct. Yeah, no more than 10 students. We like to do an evening class from 6 to 9. So, there's plenty of parking over there. There's parking for over 100 cars. And it'll only be 3 nights a week, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. So.
And do you do work on the weekends at all, or?
I do on the side. I have my own HVAC company, so yes, I do work, and sometimes I have to bring equipment back there to repair.
But generally, there's no classes during the weekends?
No classes. No classes on the weekends. They have a child care center over there, and they pretty much, fill the whole parking lot over there on the weekends. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Bill, anything?
Is the business open yet, sir?
No, sir, not yet.
Okay.
We're currently waiting to get approved by the state of Mass.
Okay. And
My business is
how many
there.
students would you assume you would?
No more
have
than,
on a-
the cap is 10, sir.
10?
Yes, that's
Okay.
it. And the reason being is 10 students, because I've taught, like I said, at these other schools, and most of these other schools, you'll see anywhere from 20 to 30 students in a class, and it's not good conducive to good learning. First of all, there's not enough equipment for the students to work on,
Yep.
hands-on, so that's why we want to cap it at just 10.
Right. On the parking, Mr. Chairman, or maybe for the commissioner, where would he fall underneath the parking regulations for? I haven't been able to find that in the chart. Well, the building owner does. You have 2,500 square feet, is that what you're showing?
Yes, sir.
I'm just.
A lot of these uses are based on the vehicle.
Yep.
With that sort of formula, if you will, parking is, appears to be adequate.
Yeah, no, I concur with that. I just want to make sure, there isn't any, because obviously we see everything you have from your landlord here, and
Yes.
I'm sure he has no objections. And, no, I think this is great for the city, Mr. Chairman, and I highly support the petitioner.
Okay, thanks, Bill. Corey?
Yes, through you, Mr. Chairman. I'm in agreement with Mr. Bailey. This is a very, very nice concept here. That's going to help a lot of people,
Thank you.
hopefully. But I do
will.
have a few questions, with
Yes.
the child care center, it brings a few concerns. I just want to make sure, you're saying all the equipment you're going to need to train these people is in-house already?
Correct, sir. Yes.
Okay. Anything on the exterior of the building, anything like that?
No, everything's inside.
Okay, all right, well, that's a good thing. And I think you got the required parking, you got more than enough there, and especially if your classes are at 6 PM, you'll have more than you need.
Exactly, yes.
Other than that, Mr. Chairman, I have no concerns, and I think it's a great petition. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, Kevin?
Thanks. Echo the other board members, this is a good petition. Just a couple of questions through you, Mr. Chairman. According to the lease that's attached here, you have 2,500, just over 2,500 square feet is what you're...
Yes, sir. 2,500, right. Give it.
In the basement area, right?
Yes, sir.
Will there be dedicated space for training? How do you, what's the layout of this area going to look like? Or?
Well, the shop area is one big wide open room. When you first walk in, there was two, he used them for storage rooms. One of them would be a classroom, and the one would be a little storage room, and then the main workshop, I guess you'd call it. And then there's a little office too on the side. So I thought I included a floor plan on there. I didn't, huh? No.
I don't see any floor plan, but I guess my main question was, would there be dedicated space? Sounds like it's going to be shared for.
Oh, I'm
business
sorry. Yeah, it's just for, as far as us? Yes,
Yes.
it's just, the landlord doesn't have access to our side.
I'm sorry, my question goes to, will your business be separate from the training area, or will that entire area that you're leasing be shared for both business and training together?
Very seldom a business. I might, what I do is I kind of refurbish old Coca-Cola machines.
Okay.
So I'll bring them in and refurbish it, and that's probably the extent of it. And the students could help do that also. But as far as excuse me, bringing outside equipment in there to work on, that's pretty much my, to the extent of it. Maybe a little, a small unit once in a while that I have to bring in there. And, the students could work on it and learn from that also.
But the reason for the small class is that you probably have a small amount of equipment, and they'd all kind of work on
Yes, sir.
a
Yeah.
similar piece of equipment.
Absolutely, yeah. We have enough equipment in there to satisfy 10 students. And so each individual student would have their own personal workstation. So,
Okay. And you've already stipulated the time and the frequency, and we have sufficient parking, so.
yes, sir.
I think it's a great proposal.
Thank you very much.
Okay, Rick?
Through you, Mr. Chairman, this is a good petition. I think it's needed within the city. We going to do any summer classes during the summertime? During the days, you're going to try to do anything like that?
I'd like to. If there's a need for it, yes, definitely.
Okay. So
Again, it'd be the same time, same days, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. If we did do a day class, it'd probably be like 8 to noon time or something like that.
Okay, so you'd still have enough parking over there, looking at what we
Yes.
have out there for parking. The only thing I have, Bob, to the building commissioner, on his lease agreement, it says emergency exit through adjacent space. I just wondering about it being they consider it now educational. Just a question.
I'm sorry, would you repeat that?
On his lease agreement, it says emergency exit through an adjacent space. So the emergency exit means I have to go through somebody else's space to get out of the building.
That's not correct.
It's not correct?
There's when you walk into the building, there's a foyer that leads you to the left, that goes directly to this gentleman's space, and there's a staircase that goes upstairs to additional spaces. So the minute you walk through that door from the foyer, you're immediately into his space. It's a common exit.
It's a common exit.
Yeah, and his space in that building has already been evaluated by an architect, and it's been determined that it's an appropriate use, and it meets conditions for pre-existing buildings.
Okay, no problem. That's my only question, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. All right, anything else, sir?
No, thank you for your time, appreciate it.
Okay. Anybody here wish to speak in favor of this petition? Just come on up, ma'am. Please state your name and address for the record, ma'am.
Ana Lopez, 98 Short Street. I think it's a great idea. I think Lowell is a community that is so diverse, and I think we need those type of business to really advance our community.
And you live right in that area?
I live in Short Street. It's not that far, I should say.
And you support this then?
Yes, I
Okay.
do.
Thank you, ma'am. Anything else? Okay. The public hearing is closed. Unless anybody has anything else to add, can consider a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion to approve.
Second the motion.
Stephanie, please.
Approve.
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 Approved.
Sir, you've been unanimously approved. We just need you to come up and sign this one plan here, just so we know that's where you're going to be doing it, and you can hand that to Stephanie. Good luck with your project, sir. Just sign and date it. Today's the 23rd. You can just hand it to Stephanie. Cordy, do we have any minutes?
No, we do not, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Need a motion to adjourn?
Okay, so make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Okay, meeting adjourned.